Hey everybody, and welcome to Playhouse Live Day 5 recap. I'm here with Tim for this one. How you doing, Tim?
Doing okay. Little disappointed after the Capcom showcase, but
But at least we're
oh
not
well,
as
not
tired
that.
as yesterday. Is my big win.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Just the one today. We have a few things to cover today. We're going to cover what they showed off of Halo Infinite multiplayer. We're going to cover some Intellivision news in 2021, and then we're going to quickly go over what was shown at the Capcom reactions that we just did. So yeah, let's just get right into this. So they started off the day with the first. There was actually a lot of stuff that happened today. This was E3's like filler day, where they had a bunch
Mhm.
of Verizon and Van Limited Run had a showcase as well. I haven't caught up with that yet, but there was a lot of nonsense here today. But Microsoft told us at yesterday's show that they would have a Halo Infinite multiplayer, deep dive, and they did, and they showed off a few different things. A lot of just like things for fans, a lot of things to sort of ease concerns with the free to play multiplayer. They talked a lot about customization options, including personal AI, which I think is just different voices for your like killing spree, team kill, double kill.
Yeah, totally.
Just another customization thing. Like this happens in
It's
MOBAs all
like
the
how you
time where they
can.
have like Rick and Morty in League of Legends saying, "Oh look, he got a double kill. Isn't that great?" Rick. It's gonna be more of
Yeah,
that, I
well,
think.
and I think they had that back in Reach where you could replace either the announcer voice or your character voice
Hmm.
with other voices, including Master Chief.
Yeah, yeah, they do have character voices in here as well. They did talk about that. Basically, just this big focus on customization as part of this sort of free to play initiative and this sort of making Halo Infinite a games as a service. But they did talk about no loot boxes and no expiring battle passes. How that works is you can buy battle passes at any time and they don't expire at the end of the season. You can also go back and buy old battle passes. You just have to choose which one to equip at any given time and then just keep playing to unlock stuff, which I think is
Okay,
very cool.
so it's essentially like a DLC pack, but you just have to unlock the DLC by playing with that pack on.
Yeah. They did say there will be
Okay.
some stuff on the storefront that you could pay for to unlock, but the vast majority of stuff is only unlocked through playing the game. So there's a big focus on this whole showing was sort of to ease concerns about this is a money grabbing thing for Halo and is more about I think trying to get people to put more time into Halo and just sort of keeping up with the times where people play Fortnite as maybe their only game sometimes or their main game. I think that's what they're trying to do. Just keep Halo going in this day and age.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder if we might see a lower price on the actual single player release.
Mm-hmm. Very much splitting these two off as almost separate products at this point.
Yeah.
They have that graphic where it's like Halo Infinite multiplayer on one side and Epic Campaign on the other side. So, but it'll be in their Game Pass anyway. So I don't imagine there'll be much complaints about the price when you got that deal going for you. But I know there's still people who love to play like Halo on Steam and stuff. So yeah,
Oh yeah, and there's so I've talked about this with a couple friends and whether they've seen it or not, the thing I've heard is like it's just Halo. Like that seems to be the impression, and I hear people talk about that almost like it's a bad thing, and I'm like, "Wait, wouldn't you want Halo to be
yeah,
Halo?"
yeah.
Um,
I always go back
but
to
as
God
I've
of War as a comparison. Like that was Sony's tentpole even during the PlayStation 2 era, but how different it is now from what it is then, and how the same Halo is now from what it is then. I feel like this battle pass system, this seasonal system, this continuing support for the multiplayer is sort of a way to try and bring it up to what modern gaming has evolved to. As for the single player, they seem to be showing as little of that as possible. So I'm a little bit worried for that, if anything. But the multiplayer seems to be getting a lot of my friends who are big Halo fans very excited. So
yeah, cuz like when people say like, "Oh, it's just Halo." I'm sitting here and I'm watching these presentations and these trailers and I'm like, "I couldn't do that in an old Halo.
yeah,
I couldn't do that either." And that's new. What
mm-hmm.
about that? Oh, look, all of this is new shit.
Yeah. Um,
um,
the battle pass thing reminds me of the Smite deal, where like you buy the God Pack, and that gets you all of the gods that is out now and all of the gods that will ever be out. And it sort of reminds me of that. Like, this battle pass will never expire. You're always cool to jump back in and like switch your battle pass to like whatever the latest season is, or if there's one really cool ninja outfit from a few seasons ago when you weren't playing but you really want it, you can just jump back in there and get that. So it's really trying to say like, hey, you do you. There's no pressure to play this, but please also play it.
Yeah, I like it in that it's a reason for you to come back, but it's not pressuring you.
Yeah.
It's not actively trying to pressure you with a time limit.
Mm-hmm. They talked about cross progression and cross play, sort of a staple for Microsoft games multiplayer at this point. They talked about Academy mode for newcomers. Not only as sort of a tutorial, but sort of a you'll like this a lot, Tim. The way they were talking about it as a tool to just get better at the game, get up to speed with the vocabulary of Halo. This franchise has been going on for 20 years now, and new players don't want to feel overwhelmed. As you know, coming from the fighting game background, people can get overwhelmed with that stuff. So there seems to be a big focus on not just basic tutorials, but going that extra step and getting people up to speed.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it. I have to say, I haven't gotten much time to play Guilty Gear Strive because that and Ratchet and Clank both came out at almost the exact same time, and I decided to dump more time in Ratchet and Clank so far.
Big week for you.
I've looked and gone through most of the tutorials on Strive. I didn't need all of them personally, but I went through and I looked, and there were tutorials for stuff I don't know how to do that I've heard of that I was like, wait, they're actually going to teach people how to do this? This is like tech that people found as glitches in previous games.
Yeah.
Like they're actually going to give you a tutorial for this now?
Mm-hmm.
Like there was one there's a character named Potemkin, big beefy dude who's gonna grab you.
Yeah.
They had a technique they used to call Kara canceling, which was like you would do this move where he did a shoulder bash, but you could cancel it so that he only did the sliding motion of the shoulder bash.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of doing the actual shoulder, you canceled it into his grab before it ever hit the opponent. They teach you how to do that. So now you slide forward and grab your opponent, which is like important tech for him at a high level. And I'm just surprised to see that I don't have to go to a YouTube tutorial for that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, they were talking about bots and stuff. They were talking about, like, they didn't show off much of it, but they said they want this to be, like, again, not just a basic tutorial, but something for high-level players and mid-level players to get a lot of use out of and keep coming back to. So,
yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't gotten to watch over that whole overview. Yeah. Did they have anything like firing ranges and whatnot? Because that's really important too.
Yeah, they showed off a little bit of that. Yeah, firing ranges and bots and scenarios and things like that.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And I think and Strider mentioned it. I am very excited for that grappling hook system.
Yeah, they showed off a lot of that. They showed off a lot of stuff as well that were that I didn't put down in my notes, but were important because they've never been in Halo games before. Like there's this new vehicle that has storage spots for weapons, so like you can carry large amounts of weaponry with you to different places and like pick them up there. There was a lot of cool stuff like that, but yeah, they were really sort of going in on the grappling hook stuff as well, which looks awesome, very fast.
Yeah, like anyone who like really knows how I play games knows I'm a massive proponent of movement options, because I think that is one of the easiest and most of the time one of the most intuitive ways to make them feel like they're doing more and cooler stuff.
Yeah,
is by just giving them cool movement options. It's why I like Apex less than I like Titanfall, even though they're the same engine, same developers, because Titanfall is just Apex with more movement options. They stripped the movement options from Titanfall when they made Apex.
And then they just talked about basically how they're trying to put in as much content for the launch as possible, and also just keep supporting this game with big content updates as it continues to live on.
And we know that's what we like to see is just keep supporting games. Capcom's nailing that.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get to Capcom in a bit, but first we have to talk about the Intellivision announcements. There was a lot of weird conferences that were happening as part of E3 today. There was a lot
Like
of
Verizon.
Verizon, a lot of nonsense stuff. Ven. It was a weird day. Tech2 had a panel where they didn't show games; they were just in a Zoom call, basically. It was very
And I was gonna
strange.
ask what happened at Take-Two, but yeah, from what I could tell, nothing happened
No,
there.
yeah, no one said anything on Twitter, so I went and looked just to make sure, and yeah, it was just them talking about the games industry in general. So it was very strange. But Intellivision did announce a new piece of hardware along with some software to boot the Intellivision Amico. I was cozy, I was having a good time. It was a light day of E3 conferences, wasn't keeping up with much. I was playing the Sable demo. Suddenly, I get a Discord ping from Rose saying you need to watch this. So you could imagine how the mood I went into this when you're taken away from the Sable demo. Come on. This is presented by Tommy Tallarico, who name dropped a bunch of video games he's worked on, reveals that he's the guy behind the Roblox oof sound effect, and that he holds the Guinness World Record for the most games worked on. And apparently there's a website you can go where you can see a full list of every game he's worked on. He's worked on a lot. He explains that the Amico is a word for friend in Italian, and that this console is designed around couch co-op and local multiplayer gaming in mind. It looks really weird. Intellivision didn't even know they were a company before I saw them on the C3 list of conferences. Thought they died years ago. Yeah. But this thing looks like a relic. It looks like the original iPods with its screen and its big wheel.
Yeah.
It's got this weird dock that you put it in to charge it, and it's also got RFID stuff in it, as they explain in the show. It's very strange, but this machine is supposedly designed for local co-op party gaming. They are targeting it towards casual players. They talked about your grandma or your friends coming over, and not necessarily being huge into video games. So they talked about some of the games that you could play on this. Like, they're 6 packed in games, including poker, Shark, and cornhole.
Yeah, and I mentioned it to you before we got into the show. Cornhole?
Cornhole.
Really?
Yeah, it's cornhole. I laughed at that. I had to put it in the notes.
I will just go to my brother's house if I want to play cornhole.
They talked about some Wii U-esque stuff where, obviously, these things are controllers, so they have individual screens for each player. So they talk about sharing information individually, so like you can play poker and only see your own hand. Or they talked about in that weird Shark game where if you're behind, it'll just like tell you where the next like batch of points is going to drop, so you can get there first. So some weird stuff like that. Talks about the 64-axis directional wheel with touch sensitivity.
What is this, the PS3?
It's very strange. Yeah, has RGB lights all over this thing. It should have been at the PC Gaming Show.
Yeah.
They talk about how they do not allow loot boxes or advertising or microtransactions on their system. Great.
Well, that's a step.
Yeah.
At least someone in the industry is making that commitment.
They talk about their lineup of software that you can buy after you've purchased the console, including games from Atari like Breakout and Missile Command. Ain't that fun in 2021?
I love me a good Breakout game.
Can't wait to play Breakout on my next gen system, because this is next gen.
Just wait, because I know you're gonna be hype when they announce Peggle at EA's conference.
Yeah, for the Intellivision Amico, we're announcing Peggle 3. It's exclusive. They talk about more original games that they have coming, including a spiritual successor to Echo the Dolphin. I thought that was pretty cool. That was like a cult classic. You're getting the Echo the Dolphin fans some love finally, but they just have to buy the Intellivision.
It's like oh man, I love Echo the Dolphin. Let me go spend $300.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
To play the spiritual successor.
Because I don't know if I mentioned this already, but they do not mention the price in this video thing. They wait for you to go to the website to do that bit. One of the actual like hooks, I guess, for the system is that there is a new Earthworm Jim game for Intellivision in development. They couldn't show any of it, but they had some nice prints.
Oh no, now I have a friend who like sometimes just likes things because they're ridiculous. And I guarantee you he's gonna sit here and be like he's always talking about how he's never gonna get a PS5. Like it's just impossible. He's never gonna be able to get one. He's never gonna get it. He's not gonna have the money for it. Well, now this is something that's $200 cheaper, and he loves Earthworm Jim, and he still owns a Wii U, so he's probably gonna buy this now.
Yeah. Earthworm Jim, again, another cult classic that could pull a lot of people in, but again, this was their big sell as part of the show. But yeah, I wonder will this ever get released when this thing inevitably fails. I'm sorry to say that so early, but I can't imagine Intellivision breaking everyone's mind with this new system. And so yeah, they end the conference. They tell you to go to Intellivision.com to pre-order. I was like, you know what? If it's cheap enough, this might have been a good sell. It's a weird, funky little device. It's not necessarily as bad a pitch as the U at. It's not as good as Playdia. But let me go and look at this price here. $250 for this thing.
Oh, that's better than 300.
$250. You could get a Switch Lite.
I was about to say, so tell me, what do you buy, a Switch Lite
You
or
could
the
get
Amico?
a Switch Lite for this price. How dare they? That's it was an affront. I threw that word around a lot this E3. This was an affront.
So did Square.
So yeah, this was actually one of the better showcases today. At least I had some to show, but it was weird, man. I don't know if Intellivision, I didn't know they were still around, but I can't imagine they'll be around much longer with stuff like that.
I see it more likely that Sega could start releasing consoles again and find more success than Intellivision.
Yeah, 100%. Because they have IP they could leverage. Like you could say, new Sonic game exclusive. We could start that up again. Let's not though. Let's just keep it under wraps. And then finally today, we're just off the heels of our reactions to Capcom. We haven't talked about any of the stuff in depth yet, but there wasn't really a whole lot to talk about. They sort of said what they were going to show well in advance. So they started off with some updates on RE Village and confirming that there is additional DLC in development. That's gotta be nice.
Yeah, I'm just curious because I don't remember if they did DLC updates for 3. I don't think they did, but they did for 2. And all of Resident Evil 2 Remake's DLC updates were free add-ons, just like Monster Hunter is.
Yeah.
But Devil May Cry 5, you had to pay for the upgrade to get extra content. And Resident Evil 7, all the DLC for that was paid.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious as to whether these DLCs will be free content updates, which is what I would hope for, or if they'll be paid DLC, which may potentially prevent me from getting them. I know I never played Resident Evil 7's DLCs.
Yeah, we'll see. They talked quite a bit about Monster Hunter Stories 2. There will be free title updates for that one. The first one is dropping on July 15th. It's the Palamute update. And there will also be a trial version of the game dropping on June 25th before the release. And progress from that will carry over to the full game if you choose to buy it afterwards. That was the big sell for me. I love when games have demos before release. I love when the progress carries over. Keith assures me that I could enjoy this game without getting into the mainline Monster Hunters, so I'm going to give this one a shot at least. Trial version's out there. Love to see it.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Again, free content updates. That's a good sell.
Yeah, it's a little surprising for an RPG in a way, though. A little surprising.
Right, yeah. Keith sort of shrugged it off as something like, this is Monster Hunter, they always do this, but I get why for the mainline games, because you want to keep people... It's sort of a games as a service. But a very generous one at that. But for an RPG, this really isn't something that happens too much.
Yeah.
They did talk more about the mainline Monster Hunter with Rise. There will be their first collaboration event with Stories, and there will be some black leather pants at some point. There was some other stuff in there, but that was my takeaway.
Don't forget the sunglasses.
There will also be sunglasses, yeah. So just keeping the ball rolling for that game. And then we're not going to talk about the esports stuff, so I'm going to take this as their grand finale. They talked. They showed quite a bit of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Basically, just like showing some raw gameplay as it happened. We were taking through a lot of text, going through how the system works in this world and Herlock Sholmes. The game is dropping on July 27th. There will be also new game modes, Dance of Deduction, and there will also be Summation Examination. And you have to sway the jury in favor of different things. There's a lot of courtroom shenanigans happening. Again, I feel like
And
there's a lot to love about this game, but it's just not my bag. But again, this looks like a great showing for its first like debut on Switch.
yeah, and while it's interesting to me, and I did not mind watching all the stuff they were showing off for it, we went into that at 11 minutes and I was like, "Oh, cool. They'll be done by 15 minutes and that'll leave us like 10 minutes to go over stuff." And then it was like 19 minutes in by the time we were done with it and I was like, "Oh, okay, we're actually seeing nothing else here today."
Yeah, it's that weird thing of E3 showcases where every announcement is the removal of a possibility of another announcement. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everything that gets announced is taking away 10 potential announcements that could have happened in that spot. And the longer it goes, the longer it grates on you, especially if you're waiting for something or expecting something at the end. So, yeah, but
Yeah, cuz I feel like even outside of the one more thing, cuz that's something we talked about was like that's why John gave it a lower rating is because it's kind of expected now that you just do a one more thing at E3.
Mhm.
But then even outside of that, people expect some sort of new announcement at E3
Yeah,
typically.
yeah.
Um and I feel like the updates they gave here weren't major enough for people to consider new announcements outside of maybe the Ace Attorney stuff.
Hmm. And I had this conversation with you off camera, and I don't want to go into a big rant now because believe me, I could go on a big rant with this, but I entirely blame the ESA for a lot of the disappointments that have happened around like the true E3 conferences, I guess, of this past week. I
Because they're
really
just trying to
feel,
sell.
yeah, they were trying to validate themselves after last year and how sort of E3's hold on the industry has been waning with Sony and Nintendo backing out in lots of years. I feel like they were trying to say, let's get as much of the big players here as possible. And so, like, I think with Capcom, with Take Two, with all these ones that are like, why did they even have a showcase? I feel like the ESA begged them to fill 30 minutes in this week, and they were like, I don't care if you have nothing to show. Just please put your logo on something and call it an E3 conference. And I feel like that's what happened here. I feel like Capcom did not want to show anything. We're not ready to show any new games, new projects, and so they just had to fill half an hour. So it's games that are coming up within the next month or so, not even the next year or so. Like a lot of these games are coming out, what, July, August, and then like content updates for games that are already out. That's the beginning and end of what we're showing today.
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it though, there is one potential big reason for a lot of the disappointing conferences. There's still one major developer left to have their conference right now.
Yeah,
And then there's one major developer who hasn't even announced an event.
right.
So, how many of these companies potentially signed some sort of exclusivity deal for the upcoming announcements for their games?
Yeah, for sure. Uh, so that brings us right into the sort of closing moments. I'll bring up the schedule here. We're moving into our final day of E3 coverage tomorrow, Tuesday,
Until
June
next month.
15th. Until next month, when E3 will inevitably continue in some form. We got EA. Maybe Sony will drop something, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But for this week at least, we're ending with the two conferences. First off, the Big Daddy, which is normally the grand finale, but Bandai Namco is sort of sneaking in here. But the Nintendo Direct will kick off our coverage tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then we'll not be reacting to Treehouse, but we'll be around and we'll cover anything that's shown there on the
Yeah.
recap at the end of the day. And then Bandai Namco will be our last conference that we'll be reacting to. So maybe an Elden Ring deep dive, who knows? But my
Honestly,
yeah,
I'm sure that even if we're in the middle of watching another conference, if something big pops up at the treehouse, someone's going to talk about it in the
for
middle
sure.
of Bandai Namco's conference.
Yeah. Uh huh. So yeah, that'll be it. Keep it locked to Playhouse Live so you don't miss any of our reactions to that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where you might be watching this right now, and we will see you guys tomorrow for the final day.